Every mature woman wants this touched first, men take note. Most men get it wrong. They aim for the physical, they try to touch her skin, they flash their status, their wealth, or their carefully practiced charm, hoping to unlock a door that has already been deadbolted from the inside. But a mature woman operates on an entirely different frequency. She has seen the games, she has heard the lines. The superficial dance no longer excites her. It exhausts her. Stop trying so hard, step back. If you truly want to captivate a woman who has lived, who has learned, and who knows her own absolute worth, you must forget everything society has taught you about modern attraction. You must bypass the physical entirely. You touch her mind first. That is the secret. Younger girls might be easily swept away by the illusion of a fast car, a sharp suit, or a fleeting compliment that temporarily strokes their fragile ego. But a grown woman, a woman who has painstakingly rebuilt her own peace from the ground up after years of disappointment, she requires something significantly deeper. She demands something undeniably real. She wants to know instinctively if your mind is a safe place for hers to rest. When you sit across from her, she is silently observing everything. She is not just looking at your posture or the clothes you wear. She is feeling the sheer weight of your presence. She is testing the waters of your intellect, your emotional gravity, and your stoic calm. Are you solid? Are you grounded? Or are you just another anxious boy disguised as a man, desperately seeking her immediate validation? To touch her mind is to see her completely. It is the profound quiet ability to sit in silence with her, and not feel the overwhelming urge to fill the empty space with meaningless chatter. You hold the space, you remain still. Most men panic in the quiet, you do not. Instead of being a leaf blown around by the anxiety of the interaction, you become the deeply rooted tree that remains unshaken. You listen carefully to the words she leaves unspoken. You notice the subtle, almost invisible shifts in her energy. You make her feel profoundly understood without ever having to announce that you understand her. This is the foundation of true desire. When you stimulate her intellect and offer a steady, grounded presence, you awaken a craving that goes far beyond the flesh. You become a sanctuary. Picture a crowded room, the noise is deafening. A man walks in. He is sharply dressed, wearing an expensive watch, carrying a resume of worldly achievements in his confident smirk. He spots a woman, a mature, elegant woman who sits quietly with a glass of wine, observing the room rather than performing for it. He approaches her. He leads with his resume. He talks about his success. He drops names. He offers shallow compliments about her dress, her eyes, her smile. He is trying. He is failing. He thinks he's seducing her. He is actually boring her. He is playing a superficial game that she outgrew a decade ago. To her, his flashy performance is nothing more than a loud, desperate cry for validation. He wants her to reflect his greatness back to him. He's entirely focused on the physical plane, the shallow layer of human interaction, where fragile egos clash and defensive masks are worn tightly. He wants to conquer. She sips her wine. She feels nothing. Now imagine a completely different man. He enters quietly. He requires no spotlight. He sits beside her. He does not immediately launch into a rehearsed pitch about his life. He simply exists in the space next to her. He offers a genuine, calm presence. When he finally speaks, he does not compliment her physical appearance. He asks a question that requires her to actually think. He asks about a subtle observation he made about how she watches the room. He looks at her, truly looks. He isn't scanning her body. He is reading her energy. Instead of trying to impress her with his loud accomplishments, he gently invites her into a quiet confidence that requires absolutely no external proof. He listens. When she speaks, he does not interrupt to share a similar story about himself. He absorbs her words. He lets them land. He is the calm harbor. A younger girl might misinterpret this profound silence as a lack of interest, craving the chaotic dopamine hit of constant pursuit and aggressive validation. But the mature woman recognizes it instantly. She recognizes peace. She has spent years dealing with boys in men's bodies who take, who drain, and who constantly need to be inflated. She is exhausted by it. When she encounters a man who is deeply grounded, it feels like taking a long breath of fresh air after years of suffocating in a smoke-filled room. The illusion of physicality is cheap. Anyone can buy a nice suit. Anyone can memorize a few charming lines. But genuine, unwavering presence, that is exceptionally rare. That cannot be faked. You must become the presence. Touching her mind means proving through your steady calmness that you are not intimidated by her depth. It means showing her that you are not just another fleeting storm passing through her life, but a solid mountain that can handle her changing weather. She wants an equal partner, not an exhausting project. She wants a secure sanctuary, not another source of modern stress. The man who wins her is the one who steps out of the frantic race for her attention and quietly claims his space. He holds his ground. She notices. She has built a beautiful, entirely self-sufficient life. She does not need a savior. She does not need someone to rescue her from loneliness, because she has already learned how to be whole on her own. What she truly desires is a mind that challenges hers without trying to overpower it. He speaks with intention. Every word matters. When he touches her mind with genuine curiosity, the physical attraction follows naturally. It is not forced, it is earned. The heavy wall she built to protect her peace slowly begins to lower, not because he hammered it down, but because he simply waited at the gate with undeniable patience. She was not born this way. She was molded. She was forged. Look closely at the mature woman sitting across from you. You might see elegance. You might see a quiet, intimidating grace. But beneath that perfectly composed exterior is a vast, complex architecture of learned survival. She built those walls, brick by heavy brick. Every broken promise was the mortar. Every selfish betrayal was the stone. She learned the hard way. When she was younger and she gave her trust away, freely operating on the naive assumption that passion alone was enough to sustain a connection. She believed the beautiful lies. She invested her soul into boys who were merely playing at being men. She drained her own cup to fill theirs, only to find herself repeatedly empty, exhausted, and forced to rebuild her life entirely from the ashes of their careless mistakes. She remembers it all. She forgives, but she never forgets. This is precisely why she is so heavily guarded today. It is not because she is cold, bitter, or incapable of profound affection. It is because she fiercely protects the tranquil sanctuary she has painstakingly curated within her own mind. Her inner peace was incredibly expensive. She paid for it with years of silent tears, lonely nights, and brutal self-reflection. She absolutely will not surrender it to a man who lacks his own structural integrity. Words are utterly meaningless to her now. You are so beautiful. I've never felt this way before. I promise I will never hurt you. To a younger, inexperienced girl, these phrases are intoxicating poetry. To the mature woman, they are simply white noise. They are the predictable, recycled script of the manipulator. They are the desperate pitch of a salesman trying to close a cheap deal on a Tuesday night. She has heard the script 1,000 times before. She is completely immune to the charm. You cannot flatter your way in. You cannot buy her trust with expensive dinners or flashy displays of artificial status. The modern dating landscape is a wasteland of fleeting dopamine and disposable connections, leaving her mentally exhausted. Her fortress was designed specifically to counter this. The high walls exist to filter out the weak, the impatient, and the superficial. The weak men hit the wall, complain that she is far too difficult, and eventually walk away to find an easier target. You do not walk away, you observe. This brings us to the profound necessity of the mental touch. To touch her mind is to completely bypass the heavily guarded front gate of her physical defenses. You are not trying to conquer her body. You are carefully, respectfully navigating the complex labyrinth of her intellect, her values, and her emotional history. You see her scars, you do not flinch. Instead of trying to aggressively tear down her defenses like an anxious invader, you simply sit quietly outside the wall. You prove that you are not going anywhere. You offer a grounded, stoic stability that she has rarely, if ever, encountered in her adult life. You ask questions that gently peel back the superficial layers of small talk, diving straight into the core of how she perceives the world, how she processes her pain, and how she defines her own purpose. You challenge her softly. You respect her deeply. When you engage her intellect with genuine curiosity and absolute emotional control, something incredible happens inside her psychology. Her nervous system, which has been on high alert for years, slowly begins to regulate. She realizes, perhaps for the first time in a decade, that she does not have to be the strong one right now. She does not have to manage your fragile ego. She does not have to mother you. She can just breathe. She can just be. This is the ultimate psychological unlock. By touching her mind, by stimulating her thoughts, and providing an unwavering, silent, masculine presence, you give her the rarest gift a mature woman can ever receive, the genuine safety to let down her guard. You become the quiet shelter in her chaotic storm. And once her mind finally accepts you as a sanctuary, the physical walls will collapse entirely on their own. What does it mean to touch her mind? It is not a trick. It is not manipulation. Many men confuse mental stimulation with psychological warfare. They read cheap books on modern seduction, learning how to playfully insult a woman, how to pull away to create artificial scarcity, or how to subtly gaslight her into seeking their fragile approval. They play dark games, hoping to hack her psychology and force a shallow, immediate connection. This is a massive mistake. A mature woman sees right through the games. She spots the manipulative tactics from a mile away, and she will quietly permanently remove you from her life the moment she smells the desperate insecurity behind your cheap tricks. She has no time for boys playing chess with her heart. Touching her mind is the exact opposite of manipulation. It is absolute presence. It is the profound, undeniable weight of your undivided attention in a world that is constantly distracted by flashing screens and empty promises. When you sit with her, your phone is out of sight. Your eyes are completely locked onto hers. Your mind is not wandering to your stressful job, your incoming emails, or the underlying desperate desire to eventually get her into your bed. You are fully, entirely, and unapologetically there. You listen, you truly listen. Most men only listen to reply. They wait impatiently for a brief pause in her sentence so they can inject their own brilliant thought, or worse, steer the conversation aggressively back toward their own inflated ego. They want to sound incredibly smart. They want to dominate the verbal space to prove their worth. You do not need to sound smart, you are secure. Instead of listening to reply, you listen to deeply understand the intricate architecture of her thoughts. You listen to the subtle pauses between her words, the slight shifts in her vocal tone, and the hidden emotions she rarely shares with anyone else. You become a calm mirror, reflecting her own incredible depth back to her, without judgment, without interruption, and without the constant masculine urge to immediately fix whatever problem she is carefully describing. She does not need fixing, she needs feeling. Needs feeling. When she tells you about a deep struggle, a painful past failure, or a complex dynamic in her life, the Stoic man does not panic. He does not rush in with uninvited advice or cold logical solutions that completely invalidate her emotional experience. He remains still. He holds the core space. He says, "I understand why that felt heavy." He validates her reality. This simple, profound act of emotional validation is incredibly rare in the modern dating market. It makes her feel fundamentally safe, completely seen, and fiercely protected on a psychological level. It builds an invisible bridge between your soul and hers. This is the essence of Stoicism in romance. A Stoic man is not an emotionless rock, he is simply a master of his own internal weather. He does not react defensively if she playfully tests his boundaries or expresses a strong contrasting opinion. He remains an unshakable mountain, calmly absorbing her intense energy without ever allowing it to knock him off his own solid masculine center. She tests you, it is entirely natural. She will unconsciously push against your boundaries just to see if they are actually real, or if you will immediately collapse into a people-pleasing boy the moment she shows a hint of displeasure. When you hold your ground with gentle, unwavering firmness, you pass the ultimate psychological test. She respects the firmness, she craves the stability. Touching her mind means having the intellectual courage to challenge her gently, to respectfully disagree with her when necessary, and to introduce her to completely new perspectives that expand her own beautifully crafted horizon. You're not blindly agreeing with everything she says just to win her fleeting favour. You're standing shoulder to shoulder with her, looking out at the chaotic world together and offering a mind that is just as sharp, just as deep, and just as relentlessly cultivated as hers. You are an equal. When you master this gentle art of absolute presence and stoic calmness, the physical touch becomes almost unnecessary to build the initial spark of attraction. Her mind is already intimately intertwined with yours, her defenses are already willingly lowering. You have successfully touched the deepest, most heavily guarded part of her soul simply by sitting quietly and being undeniably real. Theory is completely useless without execution. You must act, you must build. How do you translate this profound philosophy into the messy, unpredictable reality of a Thursday night dinner date? How do you actually bypass the superficial small talk and successfully navigate the complex labyrinth of a mature woman's heavily guarded mind? You need a specific, highly actionable blueprint deeply rooted in Stoic principles. Step 1. Burn the interview script. Most men ask questions like a tired detective. What do you do for work? Where are you from? What are your hobbies? These are incredibly boring, entirely logical data points that completely fail to trigger any form of emotional resonance or intellectual curiosity. She has answered these exact same questions 100 times this year alone. Her brain is completely on autopilot. You must break the pattern. You ask better questions. Instead of asking what she does for a living, you gently shift the entire frame of the conversation. You ask, What is the absolute hardest part of your career that nobody else ever seems to understand? Instead of asking about her favourite travel destination, you ask, when was the last time you felt completely utterly at peace while standing in a foreign city? You make her pause, you make her think. These are not just questions, they are sophisticated psychological keys designed specifically to unlock the heavily protected vaults where she hides her true passions, her silent fears and her deepest aspirations. When she answers, she is no longer reciting a rehearsed resume. She is actively inviting you into her internal world. Step 2. Master the pregnant pause. Silence terrifies the weak man. He cannot handle it. When a conversation naturally lulls, the insecure man will frantically search his brain for a random, meaningless topic just to fill the terrifying void of quiet. He stammers, he rushes, he aggressively kills the very tension that is fundamentally required to build deep magnetic attraction. The stoic man welcomes the silence, he completely owns it. When she finishes speaking, do not immediately rush to respond. Let the last word she spoke hang beautifully in the air between you for 3 solid seconds. Look directly into her eyes with a calm, unwavering gaze. This profound, deliberate pause creates a massive wave of positive emotional tension. It signals to her subconscious that you are incredibly comfortable in your own skin and that you possess a grounded masculine energy that cannot be easily rattled by a simple moment of quiet. She will feel the gravity. She will lean in. Step 3. Demonstrate high value through severe restraint. Insecure boys brag loudly about their achievements. They desperately throw their money, their fast cars, and their impressive job titles onto the table like cheap poker chips, hoping to buy a few minutes of her fleeting admiration. They tell her exactly how great they are, practically begging for a round of applause. You never brag. You never beg. A mature woman does not care about how loud you can shout your own praises. She cares immensely about how you quietly handle yourself when the world is chaotic, how you treat the waiter who brings your drinks, and how you calmly react when things do not go exactly according to your rigid plan. Your true value is not found in your rehearsed words, but in the undeniably solid architecture of your daily actions. You show her. You never just tell her. If you are truly successful, it will naturally bleed through the subtle confidence in your posture, the completely unhurried rhythm of your speech, and the absolute certainty in your eye contact. You do not need to announce your worth to the room. The lion never has to remind the jungle that he is the king. Step 4. Hold your boundaries with ruthless grace. A mature woman deeply respects a man who respects himself first. If she cancels a date at the very last minute, without a valid, respectful reason, you do not send her a lengthy, angry paragraph explaining how deeply she hurt your fragile feelings. You also do not immediately scramble to reschedule for the very next day, completely abandoning your own life just to accommodate her chaos. You drop the rope, you step back, you calmly reply, "No problem, let me know when your schedule opens up," and then you completely remove your attention. You pivot immediately back to your own powerful, heavily structured life. This quiet, stoic withdrawal is incredibly intoxicating to a woman who is used to men constantly chasing her. It proves that you are the prize, that your time is exceptionally valuable, and that your absolute presence must be earned, never just freely given. You build the foundation, the walls come down. You are the unshakable man. You do not chase. You do not beg. You do not perform cheap tricks for fleeting attention. You stand completely grounded in your own reality, offering a quiet, stoic presence that most men are simply too terrified to cultivate. You are the sanctuary, you are the storm wall. When you finally touch the mind of a mature woman, you bypass every superficial defense she has ever built. You connect with her intellect. You validate her complex emotional history without ever trying to aggressively fix it. You hold the space beautifully, proving through your unwavering calmness that you are a man of undeniable substance. You become the rare exception in a world full of exhausting rules. You offer the one thing she cannot buy, cannot fake, and cannot easily replace: genuine psychological safety. She feels the difference, she gravitates toward the peace. The physical attraction that inevitably follows is not built on the shaky foundation of cheap pickup lines or flashy displays of artificial wealth. It is built on absolute trot. It is built on the profound realization that her mind has finally found a safe place to rest. Be the mountain, let her rest. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced this profound shift where touching someone's mind completely changed the entire dynamic of the connection? Or perhaps you're the mature woman who finally met a man who truly understood this rare silent art. Drop your story below, share your truth. I read every single comment because your lived experiences are the true heartbeat of this community. If this message resonated with your deeply guarded soul, hit the like button and subscribe to Mind Before Skin for more uncompromising dives into human psychology. Stay grounded, stay stoic.